I deeply believe into the multi-stakeholder concept, which means we all have to work together. Corporations, of course, governments, civil society, to address the big issues in our world. Of course, if we look at all the challenges, we can speak about a multi-crisis, an economic, a political, a social, an ecological, an institutional crisis. But actually, what we have to confront is a deep, systemic, and structural restructuring of our world. And this will take some time. And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process. Politically, the driving forces for this political transformation, of course, is the transition into a multipolar world, which has a tendency to make our world much more fragmented. And for these reasons, events like this one, the G20, and so on, are the very important connectors to avoid a too great segmentation, I would say, blocization instead of globalization of our world. Now, how do we deal with this transition which may last for several years? Not just applying crisis management, not just reacting, but constructing the future with a purpose.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
World Economic Forum Chairman Klaus Schwab announces his plan for a deep systemic and structural restructuring of our world at the G20 summit. Ladies and gentlemen, why is this unelected man being allowed anywhere near the G20 to talk about his plan for a deep systemic and structural restructuring of our world? Here he is seen in Indonesia, Bali, at the G20 summit with his puppets, the newly selected UK Prime Minister Rishi, and also the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, another one of his puppets on a string. I would like to share with you this video where he openly brags about the amount of influence and the giant sphere of influence that he has and the amount of different people that he controls. And not just that, we'll take a look at this very candid interview with David Gergen, where he talks about the young global leaders who he has initiated into his World Economic Forum. So what are they talking about here, guys, at the G20 this year? Well, you got stuff like this. G20 pushes vaccine passports for all future international travel. The G20 has issued a formal decree promoting vaccine passports as preparation for any future pandemic response. Don't just take it from me. Let's hear it now from them themselves as they sit here as part of the B20 summit, an offshoot of G20, and just listen to what they have to say about how this is all going to work.
So let's have a digital health certificate acknowledged by WHO if you have been vaccinated or tested properly, then you can move around. So for the next pandemic, instead of stopping the movement of the people 100%, which clog the economy globally, you can still provide some movement of the people. Indonesia has achieved, G20 country has agreed to have this digital certificate using WHO standard, and we will submit into the next World Health Assembly in Geneva as the revision to international health regulation. So hopefully for the next pandemic, we can still see some movement of the people, some movement of the goods, and movement of the economy.
This is everything that I was called a conspiracy theorist for, simply trying to warn you that this was coming down the pike not that long ago, ladies and gentlemen. And now here they are openly discussing these things. And this is why I like to see when politicians do the right thing. You know, I don't put any faith in these political leaders, but it's, you know, noteworthy when people do the right things, like Danielle Smith, who just fired the entire Alberta Health Services Board, bringing in new people to whip up the healthcare system into shape, ladies and gentlemen. She is just Danielle Smith, health minister, and their health minister, Coping, has fired the entire Alberta Health Services Board. She announces immediate actions to reform AHS, which she claims will lead to faster EMS times, decrease emergency wait times, reduce surgical wait times for Albertans. So again, this is a step in the right direction, so I wanted to bring it to your attention, guys. A step in the wrong direction that the Canadian government made was when they allowed maid or medical assistants in dying. And recently, a Canadian man who's facing eviction from social housing got accepted into the country's controversial legal and euthanasia program after deciding that he would just rather die than be homeless, guys. So this Canadian man facing eviction, he applied to be legally euthanized, and he would rather die than face homelessness. He's already gotten one of the 2 signatures required from the doctors in order to be accepted into making this happen. And it was expected he was going to be euthanized this month. But then people seeing this started a GoFundMe campaign, managed to raise him $60,000, and he has since changed his mind and decides that, you know what, in fact, I would rather live. So we're going to talk about that, guys, and more importantly, just how crazy it's actually gotten, where government has now moved to the point where they're stealing care home property from people who refuse to kill their patients. And not only that, as I exposed in this exclusive interview, Canadian government forced killings of the elderly at a Delta Hospice Society exposed. So we're going to take a look at that as well today, ladies and gentlemen. You saw earlier in the video intro, this guy, he's the president of Alibaba Group, saying that the world needs a individual carbon footprint tracker. And obviously this has huge implications for what it could mean for the Big Brother Orwellian nightmare. But listen to them follow up here at this meeting on exactly how something like this would work. This is just wild.
It is basically biological chip that it is in the tablet. And once you take the tablet and dissolves into your stomach, sends a signal that you took the tablet. So imagine the applications of that, compliance, the insurance companies to know that the medicines that patients should take, they do take them. It is fascinating what happens in this field.
Unbelievable. Again, I was talking about this stuff. You can go back, you can track back through the videos, and I should probably hire somebody to do that. I don't have the time to go back through it all, but I've said all of this years ago, and here it all is playing out right before our very eyes, guys. Absolutely disgusting. Something else I warned about years ago, and I just wanted to bring to your attention now, as we see here, it's playing out at a university in California, where University of California, Santa Barbara's Black Students Union holds this free Black Panther Wakanda Forever screening, but white kids aren't allowed. The University of Southern California's Black Student Union invited students to a free private screening of a recently released Wakanda Forever, but asked that the white students not attend. And how this is not seen as blatant racism and just obvious discrimination is beyond me. But you're probably thinking, oh, well, this is just a university in California. It's not like we have stuff going on like that in the universities and schools here in Canada, is it? Enter Brock University. Here at Brock University, they have now just introduced a Black, Indigenous, and People of Color study hall to enhance academic resources and support. So in other words, no white kids are allowed here at this one. On Tuesdays and Wednesday evenings, students who identify as Black, Indigenous, and People of Color are invited to learn here at the Student Success Theater on these particular times. Interesting language. Students who identify as black. I had to chime in on this, saying, couldn't a white person identify as black? I mean, fair is fair, right? I mean, that's kind of how it works within the transgender community. So I don't see why white people should be discriminated against here in this case. So we're going to take a look at this one as well, guys. Campus Watch, Brock University launches Segregated BIPOC Study Hall. We're going to cover all of that and much, much more in this video, guys, as well. But before we do, I'd ask that really quickly you check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate if you do appreciate my efforts to bring you this information. Here you can do a one-time donation with PayPal. I know that these guys are, censoring content like mine and potentially going to have me on the chopping block. So if you are still using it, you can contribute to me there, but there are better ways. You can contribute Bitcoin by clicking on that banner there. You can do other cryptocurrencies by clicking there. You can join me on Subscribestar. That's a really great Patreon alternative. I have been kicked off of Patreon. Here's another way that you can sign up for a monthly reoccurring contribution. Thank you so much to everybody who does contribute in that way. You can also send an e-transfer to dan@pressfortruth.ca. That's a really simple, easy, fast method, especially for Canadians. Or if you like to keep things old school, you can send cash or checks or equipment to my P.O. box, guys. Links for everything are located in the description below. Again, thank you so much to everybody who has ever taken the time to contribute to my efforts here at Press for Truth. All right, guys, let's just jump right into this. This unelected man who talks about bringing about the great, reset, and you will own nothing and be happy, is now going around to summits like the the O Summit and the O20 and G20, D20, sorry, talking about the need for restructuring of the world. And I want to show you where he admits to having a large fear of society essentially in his back pocket in this one-off candid interview where I think he was probably, caught off guard in the hall by somebody, wasn't expecting the question, but he answered it openly. Check it out.
Business, of course, as a very important audience, and we have politics, we have continuous partnerships with many governments around the world, and of course we have NGOs, we have trade unions, we have all those different parts. Media, of course, and very important experts and scientists and academia, because if we are looking at the future, I think we should look at new solutions, and the new solutions will be very much driven by technological developments.
And we even have, you even have religious leaders, right?
Religious leaders, we
got
have
them all.
Social entrepreneurs, very important social entrepreneurs.
This guy is scooping them all up, guys. He's got them all. Now watch here as he talks about how the young global leaders are being initiated into the World Economic Forum and how he's being able to essentially control these people moving forward, and he very candidly, openly admits it to it right here in this interview.
We're at the Young Global Leaders Program here for Executive Education and the Schwab Fellows. But there are two countries in the world now in which the young global leaders have emerged. Tell us just a bit about that in terms of the governance.
Yes, actually, this notion to integrate young leaders is part of the World Economic Forum since many years. And I have to say, when I mention our names, like Mrs. Merkel, Vladimir Putin, and so on, they all have been young global leaders of the World Economic Forum. But what we are very proud of now is the young generation, like Prime Minister Trudeau, President of Argentina, and so on, that we penetrate the cabinets. So yesterday I was at a reception for Prime Minister Trudeau, and I know that half of this cabinet, or even more half of this cabinet, are actually young global leaders.
You just said they penetrated these governments by getting young global leaders like Justin Trudeau to be a part of this, and he just admitted half of his cabinet are these young global leaders who are a part of the World Economic Forum. How is he not controlling Justin Trudeau as an outright puppet when you hear him admit to things like this. I mean, it's so obvious. And again, this is the man who's pushing this great reset agenda, and is also behind the push for a global ID and this digital vaccine passport system, which the G20 apparently now wants to fast track. So let's take a look at this. A more vaguely worded version of these recommendations was included in the official G20 leaders' declaration, which calls for digital COVID-19 certificates, or simply called vaccine passports. Okay, here it is more specifically coming from them. Article 23, we acknowledge the importance of shared technical standards and verification methods under the framework of the IHR to facilitate seamless international travel, interoperability, the recognizing of digital solutions and non-digital solutions, including proof of vaccinations. We support continued international dialogue and collaboration on the establishment of trusted global digital health networks as part of the effort to strengthen prevention and response to future pandemics that should capitalize and build on the successes of the existing standards and digital COVID-19 84 certificates. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is not the subject of conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy fact. There are indeed powerful individuals who are conspiring on their behalf to set up this global digital ID tracking system and a plan for this new, deep, systemic, and structural restructuring of the entire world, ladies and gentlemen. So, had to bring that one to your attention as well. This idea of the G20 setting up global vaccine passports has been exposed at the B20, as we saw from that clip there. Again, this is why I wanted to bring it to your attention that people like Danielle Smith are doing the right thing. Just really quickly, guys, she's fired the entire board. Look how many people this is. All these people were just canned. These are the people who shut down the businesses in Alberta, the people who pushed the fear state, the fear campaign, pushing it constantly on them, and they've all been canned. This is exactly what needs to happen everywhere. I'd like to see something similar in British Columbia. You know what I mean? All of them. Dr. Bonnie Henry, Theresa Tam, Adrian Dix, the whole lot of them need to be fired, just like what Premier Danielle Smith has done in Alberta. Now, as I said, I don't put a lot of hope, trust, faith into any of these political figures, but when I see them making these moves in the right direction, I think it's important to bring it to your attention. So I'm doing that here today. Again, this needs to be brought to your attention too. The case of this man who was facing eviction, got accepted into the medical assisted killing program, has since changed his mind because he got a GoFundMe to kill himself. I mean, he didn't want to do it after all. When he was still applying for euthanasia, he said he didn't want to die, but that he didn't want to be homeless even more than he didn't want to die. This went viral. It led to this social, GoFundMe campaign, raising all the money, and now he's not going to be killing himself. But the fact that he can do that as an option should send shockwaves out across the world, that they are literally assisting people in suicide here in Canada. And it's not just assisting in suicide, guys. They are forcing some people to carry it out. In fact, there were some people who refused to do this, and the government came in and stole their facility and the property that they were operating out of. And if you haven't seen it, guys, please watch this exclusive interview. Canadian government forced killings of the elderly at Delta HOSPICE, exposed hospice. In Canada, if you don't want to kill someone, the government will force you to do it. The practice of euthanasia, or MAID, medical assistance in dying, was made legal in Canada in June of 2016. But those who voluntarily choose not to carry out the practice are being forced to either comply or completely shut down their operations. Hospice palliative care sees dying as a normal part of life and helps people live and die well. The palliative care does not seek to hasten death or intentionally end life. In MAID, however, the intention is addressed at suffering and ending the life at the administration of lethal dose of drugs at an eligible person's request. That's how they put it, ladies and gentlemen. But really, this is the legalization of suicide that we've seen here in Canada. And we have doctors who are assisting people who, for example, simply don't want to be homeless into doing this. It's absolutely shocking, which is why I wanted to bring it to your attention. Again, this whole topic of the individual carbon footprint ID tracker to track everything you do is something that's worthy of an entire new video all on its own, ladies and gentlemen. But I just wanted to bring it to your attention that these things are in the works, and we will soon hear about this in the not so distant future. So perhaps you've heard it here first. But again, I'd rather do a bit more of a deep dive into this video in a separate video, I should say, about that particular topic. This one too, just briefly, guys, I wanted to show you how the universities in California are being blatantly racist and highly discriminatory by not allowing white students to take part in the film festival or, showing. And also here at Brock University, they are, not allowing white students to enter this particular study hall. I mean, what are they going to have a security guard set up at the door, checking to see if blocking white people from getting in? There should be Jewish people chiming in here saying, are you going to not allow me in? I mean, what does that say about what you guys are trying to do? Guys, I debunked all of this white privilege nonsense, which a lot of this is stemming from, because it was coming from, it's all coming from the universities. And I noticed in Toronto, at Ryerson University, they were holding a conference to essentially brainwash their students into this notion that white privilege is the reason why they aren't able to be successful. So I put this out: white privilege is the imaginary belief that all your problems are not your own in life or your own fault, nor are they curable by you as being an individual taking responsibilities for your own life. There's this white privilege conference that's set to take place in Ryerson. The conference will address global perspectives on white privilege and oppression in Canada and beyond. In this video, Dan Dicks Press for Truth completely debunks the white privilege myth while exposing the dangers that this conference presents in our community, and more importantly, on the youth who have a special program designed just for them. And that's why I saw it eerily familiar to what I warned about in that video is what we're seeing happening now at places like Brock University and the University of California, Santa Barbara. Guys, just wanted to bring all of this stuff to your attention. We do have unelected guys like Klaus Schwab working to bring in their plan for a deep structural restructuring of the world. They got, politicians, spiritual leaders, media moguls, military men, financial heads, all under their pocket as they move towards stuff like this, the Global Digital ID surveillance system, otherwise known as the vaccine passports for all future international travel, which has come out of the G20. And again, we're going to do a bit more of a deep dive on that individual carbon footprint tracker as well. Just wanted to bring all that to your attention, guys. Once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to break down all of this propaganda we see coming from the mainstream and to bring you the truth of what's actually going on behind the scenes, don't forget to check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Once again, links are all located in the description below. Once again, thank you so much to everybody who does take the time, a minute, maybe not even 45 seconds, 2 minutes tops, to click the link in the description right now underneath this video. Go to the link, pressfortruth.ca/donate. Thank you so much to everyone who has done that. I can't continue to do this work without you. And that's all for today, guys. Once again, don't forget to click the thumbs up button. Share this video with your friends and family who you think need to see it the most. And stay tuned. We're going to have more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.